Hello. Good evening, everyone. So, today we're gonna talk about love your enemies. The first thing we have to reflect upon, and it's very important, is everything that we want to learn, we have to see the culture influence about the particular thing. Because we might not realize this, but we actually live our lives, and culture plays a huge role on how we live. It differentiates a little bit between countries, but it doesn't matter where you are. The culture always plays huge in your life. And we need to realize this. For an example, the way we dress. We dress from what culture tells us that it's okay to dress like this, and it's not okay to dress the other ways. Look at the Middle East, for an example. Women don't wear bikinis over there. They're not allowed to, and they are born there, they live there, they die there, and to them, they think that they have to dress like this. I remember, and for us here, I remember years ago that we used to wear very low-cut jeans. Remember, was all the way, like, was so low, you know, and everybody was wearing those low jeans. And then if by that time you wear like a high-rise jeans, everybody will look at you like, oh my God, this is so ugly, you know. And now nobody wears low-cut jeans anymore, and everybody's wearing high jeans. And that's okay right now. That's the one that it's acceptable through society. That's the one that culture tells us that it's good to wear. But we don't realize that. But for more than you say, oh, I don't follow fashion, you still dress accordingly. Same thing with what you think is pretty and what you think is not pretty. It's also influenced by culture. When I was growing up, when I was a teenager, when we classify a woman as beautiful, the body shape was completely different than what it is right now. So years ago, the woman was beautiful if they had like what we call the guitar bar body, you know, and the woman has to have, I remember I was too skinny when I was like 14, 15 years old. I was so skinny. And I remember going to the doctor and ask the doctor, I say, can I get fat? Can you give me something so I can actually get fat? Because I was, you know, being too skinny was a thing that it was not appreciated back then. And now, and years later, the beauty, it's on a skinny. But you have to be very skinny to be considered pretty. And even the Victoria's Secret models, you know, they were so skinny before, now they're not so skinny because now it's changing again. You know, you have to have some body. The fashion now is to be fit, you know. And young girls and everybody else like fights and do whatever they have to do. They go to plastic surgery, they do whatever it takes so they can have this body. But they are not conscious about they doing that because they are influenced by culture. Yeah. How to raise a child, it's another example. How is it to raise it? What is that society think is okay for you to raise your child is completely different than years ago. Completely different. What was okay today was so not okay years ago. And vice versa. So even though we think that we're not influenced by culture, we are completely influenced by culture. And we are so manipulated by culture. What is that it's out there that you think you needed to be happy? Oh, for me to be happy, I need to have a nice family, I need to have a nice job, I need to have great vacations, I need to travel, I need to do this and I need to do this because, and for some reason, when we don't have any of this, we start to feel sad sometimes. And we're like, oh, especially with social media right now, you know, they're called the influencers from social media because they do influence our lives. They do influence thousands of lives. Why? Because we're kind of like to be influenced. And not like, but I won't say like, but we actually don't know that we look at somebody and we make that somebody a role model. And we need somebody to follow. And it's kind of like we don't know what we're doing, so we're just going to follow what most people are doing. That's what we do without realizing. I want you to understand that we don't realize that we are doing this. So, with that, how do we see love your enemies in our culture today? How is that they see it? How do we treat our enemies today as a society? Well, if you have an enemy, you're in trouble. Because we shoot our enemies, we do bad things to our enemies, we don't think our enemies are good people, we do lots of things to our enemies. And let's rename, let's classify what enemies is. Enemies is not somebody that you have the courage to kill. Enemies are somebody that you are not very fan of it. That's the meaning of enemies. Somebody that you don't like it, somebody that you don't want to deal with, somebody that hurt you emotionally, or somebody that did something to you that for some reason you're not happy with that person, okay? That's your enemy. So, how do you act? How you react towards your enemy?
We are the culture of our enemy.
You're the coach. So, what I'm trying to talk about is, let's bring an example of a movie. What happened in a movie when, let's say for an example that this movie, it's me and Barbara and we are best friends, and then I catch Barbara saying a bad thing about me, that she'll say, oh, you're not is this, you're not is that, and I'm her best friend in the movie. What usually happens?
We hate the other girls.
Exactly, right? So at the moment that I know that Barbara is doing something that it's not okay for me, and then at the movie I cry, and then I get really mad at her, and then I don't talk to her anymore, and then I don't want to deal with her anymore. This is what happens, right? So this is what we do in life, because we think that that's the way we're supposed to react. If we react differently, if she's talking about me and I just say, if I pray for her, if I say, it's all right, she can think whatever she wants, everybody's going to go, what?
Send you to
That's not acceptable. What? You crazy? She's saying bad things about you. And we go, oh, really? So this is culture influence. Okay? We are dominated by that. Completely dominated. And we react the way our parents taught us how to react, and society taught us how to react. It's like we are on an autopilot, in the meaning that we are only doing the things that we think we're supposed to do it. The problem with that is, if we don't realize that culture plays a huge role in our lives, we're never going to be able to escape from that. We are never going to be able to see, okay, this is how most people will react during any situation, but this is not how I choose to react. Another example that we have for cultural influence. What do we usually say to a wife or a husband when they cheat, or when somebody betrays one another? We will go, what? That's not acceptable. You know, you should leave her or him. You should not be with them. You know, and if we don't step back to this reaction chain, and we don't reflect upon how do I want to react upon any situation, I am going to react 100% through culture influence. 100%. And right now, the idea that it's out there, it's not love your enemy, is it?
Hate your enemy.
You know? Don't like, don't talk, don't do this. Ignore it, be indifferent, don't be around. That's how we deal with our enemies today. You know? So how are we supposed to follow Jesus? How are we supposed to follow the teaching of Jesus? And this might be why we cannot follow.
It would be easy if you had an Instagram.
Yeah, right? So if Jesus had an Instagram, maybe, you know, today will be best, but it's still, one person needs to be able to influence so many so that idea get established. Look at us. How are we supposed to bring to this world Jesus' teaching if we are not following at all? We're not. We are only culture influenced by. Okay? So in order for you to realize, okay, this is what society wants me in every single situation in our life. This is how society will react. And this is how I, that wanted to follow Jesus' teachings, should react. Maybe I shouldn't be that upset. Maybe I shouldn't be that judgmental. Maybe I shouldn't be, you know, holding the grudge. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe I can perceive this in a different way. Maybe, just maybe. But remember, when we do this, just maybe, we are creating a space for us to reflect upon and to get out of this culture influence. Okay, this is what they taught me. This is how I usually act. But it's like I was saying the other day. The person that I am today, might be, not a very good person, but the person that I want to be is great. So we can focus on the person that I want to become. Okay, so we can treat ourselves emotionally, because we beat ourselves too much, feeling a victim, feeling sorry, what the other person did to me. We get affected so easily. And what we wanted to do is the influence from other people to us. It's huge because we are so weak inside. And what we want to do is we want to be strong on the inside, like expand our inside. And that way, the exterior things doesn't bother us as much as it does right now. So when you build your interior, the exterior doesn't matter that much. But we need to start, okay? If it's in every single situation, and everything that happens to us, we become hurt, the victim, mad, frustrated, etc., and we feed that feeling, okay? We're not working on what we're supposed to work, which is the inside. So the other thing we have to see is the difference between Jesus' teaching and Jesus' image. A lot of people are devoted to Jesus' image, not Jesus' teaching. And that's the problem. So if you say, oh, I see Jesus, we love the image of Jesus, the idea of Jesus, and not his teaching. Not his teaching. So the image, to begin with, we have no idea how Jesus looked like, but they sold us something. Oh, I doubted that Jesus looked like that. In the Midwest, it's blue eyes. I don't think so, But this is what they told us. Oh, listen, this is Jesus. So when we go to church, most of the church, you see there what? The image of Jesus on a cross. So we got trained to be devoted for Jesus' image. So always Jesus' image, the image of Jesus, the idea of Jesus, and not the teaching of Jesus. And then we are like wasting our time, because what Jesus brought us is precious. It's precious. Okay? And the reason why we're not following this, because we are getting influenced by culture, was because Jesus itself, it's been used for most of the religion people with hypocrisy. Oh, I love Jesus, but I'm dishonest with you. Oh, I love Jesus, but I don't forgive you. Oh, I love Jesus, but I'm still holding a grudge with you. So a lot of things on our daily basis. And with that, you can see when you talk about Jesus with a younger person, they go like, oh no, oh, please, not this. No, not this. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, year by year, they are forgetting about Jesus, because the ones that is supposed to bring the idea to life which is us, or anybody that believes in Jesus, what do? We hide in hypocrisy. You know, and that's the reason we follow here the image and we forget the teaching. Now, when Jesus, we as a spiritists, we believe that Jesus is just a pure spirit who reincarnated here with us. And he basically had a very difficult life to come in, not for us to devote to his image. The reason why he came was for the teachings. It was for the teachings, not for the image. And this is one of the teachings that he brought us. Love your enemies. And where? This was in a Sermon of the Mountain, one of the beautiful speech that Jesus gave, one of the only speech that Jesus gave it to the public. And this sermon, it's big actually, it's a few pages on Matthew. And then what he said is, on this part, he said, you have heard, and it has been said that for you to shout, love thy neighbor and hate your enemy. This was back then. What is he talking about? This is what the culture has established. Okay? Let's say, what the culture back then was telling, how the people were living what? Okay, you love your neighbor. Okay? You love the people that are your neighbor, but you hate your enemies. Okay? Now, is there any difference right now from the society that we're living in right now? Okay, are we supposed to hate, the enemy, or this change a little bit? I'll let you to answer that question. But back then was definitely what was established. You need to love your neighbor, hate your enemy. Okay. Now, but I say, then Jesus came and said, but I say, love your enemies. How are we supposed to love our enemies? First thing to reflect, is Jesus asking us to do something that we're not capable of? Huh? No, right? I don't believe so. I don't think he's going to waste his time in teaching us something that it's impossible to accomplish. I don't believe so. Now, when you look at Allan Kardec, when he explains that, when Allan Kardec explained love your enemies, Allan Kardec will say that we might not feel the same affection for our enemies that we do for somebody that we really love, because our interpretation of love is something that when you walk around, I go, that type of sympathy you might not have through your enemies, and that's okay. But the way you love them is when you wish the best for that person, the best of the best, okay? And you treat that person with kindness, lots of kindness. And when you do this, number one, you wish the best for the person and you treat them with kindness, lots of kindness, you can tell that you are loving your neighbor. Okay? Now we have to evaluate. Do we do that? Do we do that? No. Okay, if not, then we need to start thinking about that it might be a possibility that we can actually accomplish this. We can actually try to, not try, but do it. If the person, Martin Luther King was said in one of his speech, if somebody's not very nice to you, just treat them with kindness. Like give that person lots of kindness, because you're gonna see the power of love. Because love is the most powerful thing. You can actually break a person with kindness, no matter how rude they are to you. If you keep being kind and kind and kind, one day you will break that person. And then he gives an example of Abraham Lincoln. When he became president of the United States, he had this politics, which he was a general that used to hate Lincoln and used to tell and write bad things about Lincoln. He hated Lincoln so much that he actually talked about the appearance, how Lincoln looked like. He was always making even fun of the way Abraham Lincoln looked like. And then when Abraham Lincoln had to choose a Secretary of War, in a meeting with his advisor, he comes in and says, I think the best person to take this is that particular person that was saying bad things about him. The advisor was like, oh, are you crazy? This person hates you. This person literally hates you. He writes things about you. You don't know this? And he goes, no, I know. I know exactly what he does. But for that particular job, he's the best. So he ended up hiring him for the Secretary of the War. And when Abraham Lincoln was killed, this same person gave the most beautiful statement about Lincoln. The most beautiful one was written by this particular guy. And then when Martin Luther King talks about this, he says, this is the power of love. Imagine if Lincoln never hired that guy. The guy was going to be completely doing whatever he wants, hating Lincoln, do the thing. But when Lincoln showed him the kindness and brought him close to him, he changed, he transformed into a completely different human being. And this is what we are missing about hate, about paying hate with hate. We think that we are winning, but we are not. Because love is power, is powerful. Love is very powerful. So when Jesus says love your enemies, he gives a little bit of a recipe. He'll say, bless them that curse you. Wow. Bless them that curse you. And then he say, do good to them that hate you. Do good to them. And then he said, and pray for them which despisefully use you and persecute you. Pray for them. And then he tell you why. He said, that you might be the children of your God which is in heaven, for he make his sun rise to the evil and on the good, and he set rain to the just and to the unjust. He even gives you a reason why to do it. This here, pray for the ones that actually speaks against you, that is persecuting you. This works. I don't know if you guys ever tried this, but I did. So I'm not here speaking of only because I read on a gospel. I'm telling you, I have done this. I have done it, and it's wonderful to see how, first of all, even though when you first start praying to them, and how do you pray them? It's not like, oh God, let this person forgive me or help me forgive them. No. The way that I did this was following exactly what Jesus was suggesting. Be kind to them and wish them well. So what I did is what I started to pray for that particular person. Now, God, please give them the best. Please help them to be happy and just happy and with joy and everything. So I wish them the best. Every single day, I pray for that person. And first of all, I became lighter and lighter and lighter, and I end up forgetting why do I, had anything against that person. Completely forgot. And then I had an opportunity to meet that person, and I felt nothing bad, and the other way around, I was with a real big smile on my face. And that person came and hugged me, and I hugged that person. It was like nothing ever happened. Ever happened. Okay? So it really works. It really, really works. And I suggest to you to try. It does wonders to you. And this proves how the Jesus teaching is actually amazing. Okay? And one day I was talking to this lady here that came to the center, and she was really upset. Her kid was going through a bully at school. So of course I heard, and I know that if your kids are bullying in school, you as a mom, you feel like it's even worse if they are done it to you. So I listened to her, and and I felt for her, I really did. And when we were almost over in a conversation, I asked her one question. It was like, I asked her, what about forgiveness? Have you ever talked about forgiveness with your son? And then she looked at me like, that. And I saw that she was upset with me for even suggesting to talk about forgiveness, because the way that society treats bully today is, you have to talk to the teacher, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have, But we know that the bully, 95% out of the time, if not 100, is a kid that needs a lot of help. It's the kid that is probably being bullied at home. Or worse. That's why they become bullies. And maybe if we look at them with compassion, and we teach our kids the lessons of forgiveness, it might be a good idea also. And this is what Jesus is telling us all along. And this is what he was trying to tell us. So another thing is that we need to ask ourselves is why. And I will ask you this. Why do you think Jesus told us, love your enemies? What was the reason? Anybody can think of any reason why? Think about it. Don't bring it from the automatically response. Really think about it. Why did Jesus tell us to love our enemies? What was the reason? What do you think?
Me? I think because if you can see the others as you see yourself, it just makes the whole thing easy instead of try to compete. Most of the time, that's the main thing. We always compete against each other, and we cannot see the competitive things. This just doesn't work.
Okay, good.
It's better to be equal than to try to be, because we're never gonna reach. We're always gonna be competitive. There always be somebody else challenges. So if we see the others as we see ourselves, things just make easy.
Okay. Does anybody else has an answer for that? Why do you think Jesus said, love your enemies? Anybody? Anybody else? Why? Why? He did say love your neighbors, by the way. You know, the person that is next to you. But then he goes further and asks us to love our enemies. Why?
Because we're all family.
Okay. All right. Because we're brothers and sisters. Okay. So those are really good answers. And we can add a few more reasons why Jesus told us. One of them is the energy of hate. It's awful. Awful, awful, awful. And it kinds of like affect our planet also. And for more than we feed hate becomes larger and larger and larger. It increases the energy of hate. So every time that you connect with that, okay, you're kind of like making that energy more and more and more, like you expand that energy, okay? And that affects us, affects the planet, affects the whole thing, everything, okay? And another reason is because it's not very good for us. Hate can bring a lot of physical problems. Many physical problems, like physical problems. It can affect, nobody says, oh, I feel wonderful, you know, with that frustration. Nobody says that. So Jesus was telling us to do something for our own good, because hate makes us heavy and unhealthy, and we don't want to do anything. And that person becomes very powerful over us. At the moment that we are on the same room, if the person that you don't like walks in, everything changes to you. Your attitude changes. Your emotion changes. You know, and you you catch yourself looking at what that person is doing. They're doing good things or bad things, but you're looking, because the person has power over you. Okay, and then it kinds of, you know, makes life really hard when you hate somebody. When it's hard to accept that we hate. So every time I say hate, don't think that you don't have anybody that it's your enemy, because you're always gonna find someone that you're not a big fan of it. And that's what I'm referring to, okay? The person that you are not a big fan of it. It's hard for anybody to admit that they actually have an enemy. It's hard. So we say, I'm talking about the person that you don't like it. Okay? So another item is how. Okay. We already talked about why. We know that Jesus came in to teach us. We know that he actually had a hard time coming over here just to teach us and give us the recipe to live what? A better life. Do we want to live that life? Let's hope so. We do, right? Because we want to be happy. There is nobody here that consciously said, I don't want to be happy. We all want to be happy. We all do. Okay, deep down, that's what we want. And then if we realize that we can accomplish this, we can love the person that it's not a big fan, that we hate. Not that we hate, but it's our enemy. How do we do this? Anybody have an idea? Because we need a plan. We actually need a plan. If we're going to do this, we need a plan. Who can give me an idea? Who has a plan to love your enemies?
I do.
What do you do?
I take one step at a time.
Like what?
Instead of just hating the person or just ignore or try to like find an excuse to hate that, I try to do the reverse. I'm trying to find things that I should like the person and try to change myself. And changing myself, I'll be looking to the other person as different.
That is a good plan. And let me tell you this. When we don't like someone, okay, it's kind of like we forget that that person has good things also. Because the bad things, like it's flashing all around, it's like beep, 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 beep. It's like the only thing we can see is what they did to you, that it wasn't okay. Okay? So, if you react first, you're only going to see bad things. So the way this works is the bad things that you see that the person did to you, it kind of increase. And every time you look at that person, the tendency is to only see things. Did you see what that person did? So no, the other person go, no, what? Oh, the way she walked, the way she talked, the way she did, it's increasing. The bad things increases. Now, in order for us to grow, in order for us to love our enemies, we're going to have to look for the good things. It's not going to be easy, because we're going to see that the bad things will flash way more than the good things. Way more. So we really have to step back and say, okay, let me try to find. No one is 100% bad. No one is 100% wrong. Let's put it this. Everybody has good in them. Everybody. We just need to see it. So that person probably did this to me, but, I see that that person also have these good things. She loves her dog or loves her cat. Oh, okay, that's a good thing. They love that. And in the center, this is very common. At the center, we start looking at the person. When we have something against them, we only see bad things. But if we look, we say, you know what? Maybe she did this to me, but also look at that person. You know, she comes in and she works, and she's always here, and she's trying, you know, to do good. Oh, look at her. No, today she brought dinner. Wow. You know, she's helping the center. She's doing this. So we start seeing, you know, little things that the person does that it's actually good. And then you don't feed the bad. You're looking for the good. And then your heart will slowly change a little bit. Slowly. That's going to be a training. But that slowly will change. And another thing that we can do also is we need to believe, not believe in here, but actually feel the power of love. We need to understand how powerful love is. Because if we have this inside of us, and if we really believe the power of love, okay, we're going to be able to see that if we are kind, you know, that person might actually even transform ourselves. We might become an inspiration in that person's life. Okay? And the third, and how are we going to do this? The third option, the third exercise, remember that you're going to have to find your own. Okay? We need to be willing to do it. Willing to do it. That's the biggest thing ever. I was giving a speech a very long time. It was about forgiveness. And I finished my speech, and this person came to me and said, "Can I talk to you?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Listen, I can't forgive this one person in my life. You know, I can't, and I try and I can't." And I asked her one question. I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And she goes, "Yes." I said, "Do you want to? Do you want to?" And she looked at me and said, "Probably not." I was like, yeah, that's the problem. If you don't want to, you can go to therapy. You can do whatever you want. You're not going to forgive because you don't want to forgive. You don't want to. But when you do want it, you are willing to do it. And I'm going to ask you, do you think that the person that really wants to forgive someone, she's not going to be able to forgive? She will. If she really wanted to forgive, you will forgive. If you don't want to forgive, you will never going to forgive. Never. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to love our enemies is the same idea. We need to put this as a priority in our lives, as a goal. And I know that you have that one person that you're not a big fan, or couple persons, you know. I'm not going to judge. But we do have it. Okay? That particular person. Okay? And we can be kind. We can pray for them, wishing them the best. And we can do amazing things with them. Because I don't know about you, but I think that Jesus' teachings cannot be wasted. Wasted. I don't think so. I think it's a shame that after all this year, we're still struggling with very, very small things. Very, very small. Because we've been guided by cultural influence, because we've been so reactive in life that every little thing affects us. And like you all said, when you bring the why and you understand how hard it is to live a life full of frustration, full of judgments, full of little things that we hold. Regrets. I don't know. I just think that we can do so much better than this. I really do. All of us. We can live amazing lives. We really can. We really can. Other people did. And we have a lot of examples of people that live in joy, that can forgive, that doesn't allow little things to bother them. We see this every day. It might not be too many people that are doing this, but a few people are doing this. And we just need to focus on the teaching and not on the image of Jesus Christ. We all want to meet, the figure of Jesus Christ. We all have this love for the image of Jesus Christ. And it's okay, we can keep it that, but we just need to add the teaching. And we can ask ourselves, in every single situation that we have through life, how is that? How would Jesus act upon this? Remember, we can not react. How would Jesus act? Not only the exterior, but we have to worry about our interior, okay? It's not like how would Jesus act in that particular situation. We want to act the same way without transforming our interior, without transforming our feelings. First, we need to transform the interior. First, we need to transform how do we feel about that person and not the way we actually act with the person. You get that? Because if not, it's going to be hypocrisy, okay? So we change the way we feel about a person. Every single one that we get in contact with them. Learning that we will have to deal with the past and we will have to love everybody that was in our past, but at least we can also are not going to add to our list because we're going to deal, we're going to perceive, we're going to see things differently. This is the way how society sees and how Jesus sees it. And then maybe it will change one day, and then we're going to actually watch movies on the same situation that me and Barbara, I catch Barbara saying bad things about me, and I was just like, that's okay. I can still see the good on her. I can still see that she's my friend. Most of the people that get mad when they heard that somebody was talking about them, it actually happens to one of my friends, exactly this. So she was talking to her on the phone. She hung up, but it didn't actually hang up on the phone. Oops. And then she's saying one thing. She said, oh my God, she's so this, and that, okay? And then the friend hung up, and then she called me. She was so upset, like she was crying. She was so hurt. And I asked her, can I ask a question? And she goes, yeah. You never in your whole life spoke anything about that person. You never said one little bad thing about her. And she goes, what? I was like, yeah, answer me. Have you never, just because she got caught, it doesn't mean that you never did it.
Like I'm saying.
You know, you say little things about her, but she never heard. That doesn't mean that you never said it. So we learn how to deal with things a little bit different. If somebody was rude to you one day, or if somebody said something that you didn't like it, you know, we can easily let it go if we are under the influence of Jesus, not under the influence of the culture. We want to be under the influence of Jesus' teachings, not the image. And we can all do that. So thank you so much. And this was our message for tonight. Thank you.